recording anytime you want. So welcome to the Partnership for International Birding video conference on birding in Tanzania. Um, Today on the call is Anthony Raphael, who's been a bird guide in Tanzania for over 20 years. I'm going to first start by just laying down the ground rules for the call, and then I'm going to give a short introduction to Anthony, and then you can hear from him about his favorite birding sites in Tanzania. So the ground rules are pretty simple. When he's doing his presentation, we ask you to mute your phone call so we can all hear. And then, we'll be taking 4 or 5 breaks during the presentation that you can unmute and ask questions. In the meantime, as your passion and inquisitive minds come up with good questions, you can text them to me. Besides being the PIB executive director, I'm also facilitate these video conferences. Anthony will see the questions as well. We'll sort through them to sort of focus on, key topics that are relevant. Some questions we save towards the end. We always get questions about packing and the pandemic, but I always save some of that towards the end of the call. But generally, we're kind of game to answer whatever questions that you have. Again, we invite all questions. Please ask them when we take a little break in the call, and otherwise you can text your questions away. So, and the format for today is pretty easy. He's going to start with an overview of Tanzania, and then he's going to talk about 4 areas of birding in Tanzania. And some of this you have to suffer through my pronunciation. But one of them is going to be the Kilimanjaro area, and we'll take a break, and then we'll cover the Ngorongoro crater area, and then we'll take a break. He always laughs at my pronunciation because I always mess it up. And then we'll talk about the Serengeti, and then we'll take a break. And then Tarangire National Park, and we'll take a break. So let me just take a few minutes here to introduce Anthony, and then he can start. Anthony Raphael is really widely recognized by most major birding tour companies as the top Tanzania bird guide. He's been a bird guide in Tanzania for nearly 20 years. He has extensively studied the birds of Tanzania, and he knows better than anyone, as he is a local there, the country's key bird watching sites, and really how to find birds both in those sites and anywhere in between, as a great local bird guide does. He's combined with his field experience in both bird finding and wildlife study, along with his love of nature. He has attained a reputation as one of the leading birding and wildlife guides and photographic guides in all of East Africa. Our clients praise his field skills and good company. His keen eye and bird finding skills always seem to amaze folks. He particularly loves the challenge of identifying cisticolas and warbler species. I have to say I have a fondness for cisticolas as well. Our clients tell us that they enjoy Anthony's sense of humor. He loves to share time with clients as they find new life birds, and he loves sharing opportunities with clients as they watch wildlife that they've dreamed of seeing forever, especially elephants and baby elephants. He just melts his heart. So with no further ado, I give to you Anthony Raphael. Go, my friend. the speakership is yours.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you very much. I welcome everybody to Tanzania, and I welcome everybody to this presentation. I'm Anton Raphael, as Charles already introduced me. The ground guide for Partnership for International Birding in Tanzania. Welcome to this presentation. On the page, as you look right now, you have the field guides, Birds of East Africa, something like this. This is the newest edition, revised November 2020, for the field guides of the Birds of East Africa by Terry Stevenson and Fanshawe. So this is one of the field guides you'll need when studying the birds of East Africa and Tanzania in particular, Tanzania and Kenya for this trip. First of all, I'll give you an introduction of Tanzania. Definitely it's in Africa. And as you see the map of Africa over there, it is somewhere south of the equator, about 3 degrees south of the equator, and bordering with the Indian Ocean, the eastern coast. Just to be specific, that is East Africa, and that's the map of East Africa. So when we are talking about Tanzania, you look at who are her neighbors. We have Uganda, Kenya, and we have Rwanda, Burundi, the Congo, Zambia, Malawi, and Mozambique to the south. So as you see from the map, if you take the whole of Eastern Africa, this is a huge land. The whole area here is Tanzania. So from the safari point of view, you definitely cannot do this in 2 weeks. You need 1 or more tours to finish Tanzania. However, for this presentation, we are mostly concentrating on the popular north. That's northern part of Tanzania. That's the most visited. If Charles allows us to make another presentation sometime later, either this month or the few coming months, we can then concentrate on other most popular endemic sites of Tanzania for those who want to do particularly the difficult species. So in that presentation, we'll talk about the rest of Tanzania, including the islands of Pemba, Pemba Scops, all Pemba sunbirds and all that, the Kilombero weavers. But for this particular presentation, we are mostly concentrating on the popular north, especially for those who are doing the first tour to Africa or the first tour to Tanzania. You cannot miss the big names like the Serengeti, Ngorongoro, Kilimanjaro mountains. So that's what we are mostly concentrating on. Country facts. We always say Tanzania, but we are the United Republic of Tanzania, with an area of 364 square miles. That's a huge area. Luckily enough, we are utilizing our land effectively. 38% of Tanzania is protected as national parks and reserves. Out of that, there are 22 national parks. I guess the largest number of national parks for the whole of Africa or Eastern Africa. We are at a population of about 55 million currently. That's the 2010 census. Our next census is August, September 2022. Estimates about 61+ million people. The capital is Dodoma, but I guess someone almost said Dar es Salaam. No, the capital of Tanzania is Dodoma, and that would be in the central part of the country. Central part of the country, that is Dodoma. So that's the capital, and that's where the State House sits. 99% of Tanzanians are native Africans with over 120 tribes plus. That's one of the largest in East Africa, over 120 tribes. That means ethnic groups, 1% Asian, and the rest are Europe and Arabia. The language, though, the national language is Swahili or Kiswahili, English, and other indigenous languages. So the official languages is English and Swahili, that is spoken countrywide. Religion, 35% Christian, 33% is Muslim, though it may change with the coming census, and there will be better figures presented. For Zanzibar, as Tanzania is United Republic with Zanzibar and Pemba, and 99% of Zanzibar is Muslim. The government is a multi-party state republic, and the current president is Samia Suluhu Hassan. She's 1 year old in power. GDP by 2020, $64 billion US. GDP per head, estimates of 2022 is about $900. Inflation rate may be higher right now, but estimated at between 4% and 5%. Industries, top is agriculture, tourism, and mining. We have lots of cash crops, including coffee, tea, and of course, tourism industry. And the mining, we have a gem called Tanzanite, which is endemic to Tanzania, that holds Tanzania up from the mining industry. We are trading mostly with China, India, European Union, East African Community, and the South African Development Community, which includes countries south of Tanzania. Unique facts about the birding in Tanzania. Tanzania is not a very popular birding destination, but it's coming up as one of the top birding destinations on the African continent. Historically, everybody knows about Tanzania from the safari point of view. Come to Tanzania for the big game safari, come to Tanzania for Mount Kilimanjaro climbing, come to Tanzania for the beach in Zanzibar. However, the birding is another aspect of a safari combined in Tanzania. In Tanzania, you can combine the big five safari and the endemic birds on the same trip. A 2-week trip could probably give you, depending on time of the year, an average of 400, 500 species of birds. With the area of 364 square miles, we have over 1,121 species of birds. 1,000 of those are vagrants, and 31 to 35 are endemics. That is the highest number of endemic species on the continent and in East Africa. Tanzania has the highest number of endemism. And actually, most of these endemic birds, some of them have been recently described or undescribed or unnamed. We have cisticolas in southern Tanzania, the kilombero and white-tailed. They are completely new to science, and lots more other endemic birds. 35 of those are near endemics, and you can hit about 3 species per square miles. The pictures you can see here, these are some of the few endemic birds of Tanzania that you are likely to come across on the northern Tanzania safari. This one over here is almost uniformly colored. Not sure if anybody can guess which family this one is in, but this is a starling. It's one of the endemic birds of Tanzania. And once you're in the right habitat, you definitely see as many as possible. They actually come towards your feet to be fed. It's an endemic. So most people think endemics, you really have to work hard to find one, but this one walks to your toes. And then you see what looks like parrots, mini parrots over here. These are fishes, yellow collar lovebirds. Yellow collar lovebirds, those are also endemic to Tanzania. And then the gray-breasted sparfle, it's a chicken type, Franklin, gray-breasted, it's endemic. And that would be on the Serengeti. The rufous-tailed weaver, that can be in Ngorongoro, Serengeti, and Tarangire when we visit northern Tanzania. We have the hornbill, that looks like a hornbill. This hornbill like a toucan, but it's a hornbill. This is one of the other recent named endemics of northern Tanzania, northern central Tanzania. This is the Tanzania red-billed hornbill. This is one of the birds that we fight to see on our northern Tanzania tours. If you go further south, there may be plenty, but for northern Tanzania, you must hit a site or spot on the Serengeti Plains. Many people maybe already know what this could be. That is a white-eye, and it's endemic to the Ngorongoro Highlands, recently named as the Mbulu white-eyes, white-eye mbuluensis. That's another one that we seek for on our tours. And the fishes lovebirds, those were common sighting on the Serengeti. And we have this hidden gem here, that is Usambiro barbet. It's a Tanzania, it's a near endemic. It's a Serengeti Masai Mara endemic. It's only found onto those two plains, Masai Mara in the north of the Serengeti in Kenya, and the Serengeti Plains itself. So that's another one of the endemics. There are lots of endemics, over 35 endemics, but for northern Tanzania, we're probably talking about those few. Charles, should I continue? Charles, should I continue?
Yeah, continue.
Hey, I thought we should actually open up for a few questions, and I actually wanted to clarify a couple of things. So in square miles, Tanzania is about 1.5 the size of Texas. So, I mean, most people on the call think Texas as a big state. Certainly all Texans do. I'm actually a native Texan, so I can say it's true. But it's Tanzania is about 1.5 times the size of Texas. So pretty big area. And then he had mentioned Zanzibar. Zanzibar is a part of Tanzania. It's a island off the coast to the east, correct?
Yep.
Yep. And so that's the Zanzibar area, and sort of known in TV and film. And there you go. So those are my little bits there on overall Tanzania. I know people want to get into the birding, the specific birding sites. Any quick questions at this point, folks? Feel free to unmute. Hearing none, let's get to the birding in northern Tanzania. And what first site are you going to cover, sir? Go ahead, Anthony.
Yep, thank you. Thank you, Charles.
Yep.
Now, for northern Tanzania popular destinations, as I said before, many people will come to Tanzania for the big game. The big game meaning the big five, that is the rhino, the elephant, the buffalo, the leopard, and the lion. So some people often forget about the small five, which are also hidden on the safari. But popularly, the most sought after places for people to visit Tanzania, in northern Tanzania, many questions, many dreams will work around Kilimanjaro. Where is Kilimanjaro? How do we get to Kilimanjaro? The international airport is Kilimanjaro. The mountain is Kilimanjaro. So where is Kilimanjaro? That's why we have a short talk about Kilimanjaro, not popularly as a birding destination, but because it's a popular big name out there for someone visiting Africa. Someone visiting Africa will occasionally ask about Mount Kilimanjaro and the possibilities of either seeing it or climbing it if possible. But the other names that hit people's dreams, ears, sightings are the Ngorongoro crater. That's what they call one of the natural wonders of the world, the Ngorongoro crater. That's another popular destination, dream for both birders and non-birders alike. Not forgetting the Serengeti Plains. People have heard of the migration of the wildebeest, crossing annual migration of the wildebeests from the Serengeti to the Masai Mara in Kenya. And people have seen lots of films about the big cats on the Serengeti, the calving season, giving birth of the wildebeest on the plains. Over 2 million wildebeests join this migration. The little known gem is Tarangire. So for northern Tanzania, we're mostly concentrating on Mount Kilimanjaro, Ngorongoro crater, the Serengeti Plains, and Tarangire National Park. So what's Mount Kilimanjaro? Now, most people ask not about the mountain, but the location of the mountain. Randomly, if you ask people, some people say it's somewhere below the equator, it's somewhere on the equator, it's somewhere in Africa. Mount Kilimanjaro is located in Tanzania. On a good day, time of the year, you could see the peak, while in Arusha, where the starting capital of the safaris, all safaris to northern Tanzania will start from Arusha or stay night in Arusha, and that's the time you may have chance to see Mount Kilimanjaro. This is the largest freestanding mountain in Africa, in the world, and it's not part of a mountain range. It's a single volcanic block, standing at about 19,340 feet above sea level. It's a volcanic ash rock that apparently is said to be dormant on one of the peaks, but extinct on the other. It's said that the last activity of volcanic activity on the mountain was about 350,000 years ago, but one day that I and you don't know, it's likely to erupt again. It's made up of 3 cones: Kibo, Uhuru, and Mawenzi. So most trips that are doing Mount Kilimanjaro will look at a 5 to 7 days hike to the top. But for the birding tours, we go somewhere to the closest slopes of the Kilimanjaro mountains, where we get to see some of the forest birds on the slopes. But west of the mountain is dry, and it's not a forest. It's in the rain shadow, popularly known as the Lak Plains. People go to the Lak Plains west of Mount Kilimanjaro to find one of that elusive endemic called the Beasley's Lak, which is apparently one of the world's most endangered species, vulnerable by numbers going below 50 individuals. So on one of our northern Tanzania tours, we drive west of Mount Kilimanjaro to go and find the Beasley's Lak and some other dry country stuff. In the forests on the slopes of Mount Kilimanjaro.
Anthony, so we actually bird near the Kilimanjaro foothills, right?
Yeah, we bird close to Mount Kilimanjaro, in the western side of Mount Kilimanjaro for the Lak Plains, for the Laks.
It's this plain habitat with these like tree foresty patches in there. So you're getting both grassland species, some nice forest species. What was the name of that endemic that we're looking for?
Yeah, the endemic bird west of Mount Kilimanjaro that we go to find is called the Beasley's Lak. Recently, the Beasley's Lak, formerly lumped as the Spike Hill Lak in South Africa, but recent studies indicate it as a completely different lak, and it's called the Beasley's. Was formed by John Beasley's in the 1880s.
Great, and then we have these nice trogons here, and these nice
yeah, and the Turacos.
And the nice Turacos. What trogon species are we looking looking at there, bud?
Um, Trogons, I think, are a family that's
No,
almost.
but what
Well,
trogon species do we have on the screen?
yeah, on this trip, we're looking at possibly two trogons. The one in the picture right now, that's the bar-tailed trogon, which is found on the slopes of Mount Kilimanjaro, on the slopes of Mount Meru, and that's around Arusha National Park. We look out for that. But also we can find it on Mount Kenya.
And then
Crossover to Kenya.
what Turacos are we looking at here?
The bar-tailed trogon.
Okay. And what Turacos are we looking at in the picture?
Yes, yeah, we have two Turacos here. We have two Turacos on here. We have the Heart Labs Turaco, one over here.
Which Turaco species?
Heart Labs Turaco.
Oh, Heart Labs Turaco.
Heart Labs. Just to give you a little bit of what Turacos are. Turacos is a family endemic to Africa and mostly forest.
Right.
Tanzania has about.
And what other species are we looking for in the sort of Kilimanjaro foothills area?
Kilimanjaro Arusha area will have the Heart Labs Turaco, which is endemic. It's an East African endemic. It's found around Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Meru, and Mount Kenya.
Yep.
And then we have the Shallows Turaco over here.
Okay.
It may not be in the Kilimanjaro area, but it's one of those Turacos that we look for in the forested areas, especially the Ngorongoro Highlands.
Oh, I gotcha.
But our trip, the two possible Turacos will be the Shallows and the Heart Labs. The Heart Labs being near endemic, shared with Kenya.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And the Trogons, will be looking out for two Trogons, the bar-tailed and an arena Trogon. Those are possible Trogons for the tour.
Right. Anything else you want to add on the Mount Kilimanjaro area? Are there more slides specific to this area? Or are they, because I saw the next one is sort of an overview bit still. Do you have anything specifically on Mount Kilimanjaro more, or is this it? I'm just trying to facilitate away here, bud.
Yes. Anybody has a question on Kilimanjaro?
Yeah. Any other audience questions on Kilimanjaro area? And any other good questions about the birding in the air?
Okay.
All right. So this is a question for you, Anthony. I'm just trying to look at trying to figure out the layout of your hit the overview screen. I want to see something really quick.
Do what?
Hit like the overview screen.
Overview.
Yeah, okay. No, and then go flip just flip through the whole thing really quick. So we got the top 4 destinations, Mount Kilimanjaro. I'm just trying to
Ngorongoro.
to Kilimanjaro.
Kilimanjaro, Ngorongoro crater. Serengeti National Park.
Eddie next. Okay. What's after that?
After Kilimanjaro, we have the Ngorongoro crater.
Okay, and then just keep flipping through the whole thing. I want to see something.
Serengeti National Park.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So any other questions about Kilimanjaro area folks before we move on to the Ngorongoro crater area? Let's go on to Ngorongoro crater. Thanks, my friend. We can go to the next.
Welcome to the Ngorongoro crater.
I'll go mute up again. The floor is yours. Go. Just talk about the birds, man.
Yep. Thank you, Charles. So you're welcome to the Ngorongoro crater. As I said before, this will be another one of the dream destinations for most people. Lots of documentaries about the Ngorongoro crater. The Ngorongoro crater is one of Africa's most famous sites. It's said to have the highest density of wildlife in Africa, sometimes described as the eighth wonder of the world, and indeed it is. The crater has achieved world-renowned attractions, and ever-increasing number of visitors per year indicate how famous the Ngorongoro crater is. No tour to northern Tanzania is complete without the Ngorongoro crater. All our tours with PIB will go through the Ngorongoro crater. We do the crater floor and we do the crater rim for some fascinating high altitude birds. The floor of the crater is about 265 square kilometers, 165 square miles, and about 2,100 feet deep. That's from the rim to the bottom of the crater, with over 30,000 different kinds of animals. From the vantage point, it's possible to make out the tiny shape of the animals making their way around the crater floor. That's before we go to the crater floor, we have like a bowl, and then on top of the rim of the crater, you can put a scope or a pair of binoculars onto the floor, and you might be seeing some walking rhinos, elephants, buffaloes, and of course, flamingos. Most of the tours that go through the Ngorongoro from the birding point of view will be looking at some of the high altitude birds. This is one of the highest elevations that we travel on this tour. So we are having mostly high altitude birds like the sunbirds over here. This is the Takaze sunbird, it's high altitude. And for northern Tanzania, you must be on the rim of the crater to see that beautiful, colorful sunbird. The eastern double-colored sunbird, that's another one that's also high altitude. The Mbulu white-eye, as I mentioned before, one of the endemics, and the bronzy sunbirds. Not to forget the black rhino. That's the home of the black rhino, is the Ngorongoro crater. So most tours we are running with PIB will go down the crater and will spend some time, either day or half a day, doing the rim of the crater at a high elevation, find the high altitude birds. The shallow sturako, which is in the previous clip, is also found on the rim of the crater, as well as the alpine chat, which is apparently split from the one in Europe. So the one on the Ngorongoro crater is probably going to be a separate species, and we also try to find that, as well as many other wheat ears and cisticolas that are almost endemic to the Ngorongoro highlands. So welcome to the Ngorongoro crater. Someone has a question about.
I got a couple other birding questions. I'm cheating and I'm looking at the trip description.
Yeah.
We mentioned secretary bird in this area. Is that pretty common, or I mean, we see secretary bird every trip, always here, or what's the deal? I know it can prove really tough.
Yes, I would probably talk about the secretary bird when we get to the Serengeti. That's one of the.
Okay. So that's more of a grassland species.
Yeah, it's a grassland, but chances are high on the Serengeti than on the crater floor.
I got you. And then other birds mentioned here are like white-headed barbet, two long-claw species, rosy throat-oded and Tanzania long-claw. Are those also found in this area or no?
Yeah, long claws are grassland birds. I don't have a one of the long claw, but I think that's what most North Americans call the meadowlark. But it's a long. So we have the rosy.
I see Western Meadowlarks in the next month. I'll see hundreds. I have really terrible longclaw luck in East Africa, but in this
Yeah.
area you get both rose-throated longclaw and Pangani longclaw.
Yeah, Pangani is possible, but though not likely, but possible. The rosy-throated is also possible on the crater floor because they are grassland birds. And from the field guides, many people will really want to see a longclaw on each tour. So we try to make sure that we find a longclaw, which can be either the rosy-throated, or the yellow-throated, or the Pangani. All these are possible long claws on the tour to the Ngorongoro crater and the Serengeti head. Yep.
Got it. Thank you very much. Any other birds that you just kind of love in the norm? I'm never gonna learn to pronounce this thing. I'm gonna try it again.
Ngorongoro.
Yes. Any other birds that you really love here or clients really love to see?
Yeah, of course, sometimes of the year we have the flamingos on the floor, the crater floor, and then we have martial eagles, long-crested eagles, snake eagles, brown snake eagle, and black-chested snake eagles. But also, of course, there are ostriches, and
it's common ostrich, or
that's the common ostrich.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we cross into Kenya is when we get into the Somali, but in northern Tanzania, mostly on common ostrich.
Excellent. Any other questions out there on the
Ngorongoro.
Yeah. What are you saying?
Ngoro crater.
Yeah. Any other birding questions in the crater?
Yeah, this is Bob Shade. Can you hear me?
Oh, great.
I'd like to know what time of year you can see flamingos in the crater. Ngorongoro.
Bob Shade, it's good. Oh, excuse me, I'm not supposed to use names. Bob, it was good to hear your voice.
Yes, actually, almost all year round, you can get the flamingos on the crater floor, but the numbers can go lower if the water level goes higher. Around April, May, they be a few of them, but as the water levels go down after the rains, from June onwards, we should be able to get good numbers of the flamingos, both greater and lesser, on the crater lakes.
So in the more rainy months, they're just more widespread, but in the drier months, they're all not aggregated around these more shallow water areas. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. Yes.
Good question. Thank you. Any others?
Okay.
Great. Anything more? All right. I think we can go to the next area.
Is it a break yet, Charles?
No, break is over. We can cruise, my friend.
All right, we can cruise. So we go to cruising to the Serengeti.
Correct.
The Serengeti National Park. That's another world famous. A tour to northern Tanzania is not complete without the Serengeti. A birding tour is not complete without the Serengeti. A first-time tour to Tanzania or Africa is not complete without the Serengeti. So chances are high that you have dreamt of Africa, and when you did, definitely dreamt about the Serengeti. Countless movies have been made, performed, recorded about the Serengeti. And one famous one says, the Serengeti shall never die. And indeed, it's always alive. The Serengeti was established in 1951. It's a huge area of about 14,000 square kilometers, about 5,700 miles is one of the well-conserved, maintained, and protected areas of Tanzania. And it's apparently the largest national park of Tanzania after Nyerere National Park, formerly Selous in southern Tanzania. The Serengeti is known for its huge herds of plain animals, especially the wildebeest migration. When people talk about the Serengeti, they talk about the wildebeest migration. Over 2 million wildebeests, gazelles, and zebras migrate annually between the Serengeti and the Masai Mara in southern Kenya. So this famous migration makes Serengeti a place to visit. There are two sessions of the migrations. There's a migration that crosses the river into Kenya, where you've seen documentaries of crocodiles getting hold of the animals crossing and so forth and so back. And then you've seen single files of endless lines of animals of over 2 million. So if you are looking at the crossing of the Mara River, this tour has to be between July and September. If you are looking at the single file lines, as well as the predator season, the animals are migrating to go to the southeast Serengeti plains, where they give birth between November and June. So between November and June, you're witnessing the calving and not the crossing, the giving of birth of babies, which coincides with the rains, with the food, that's the grazing, the pastures, and the concentration of the big cats taking advantage of the babies that are born, meaning easy prey to them. That's the time of the year when you're visiting the Serengeti, when all the birds are in full breeding plumages. The waders, the widows, the bishops, and all kinds of birds that will be in full breeding color by that time. So there are 2 times of the year that you can visit the Serengeti, but all the time you visit, the birds are always there. Some of the most popular birds that we visit for the Serengeti, as mentioned before, some of the endemics and specialities, we have the Tanzania red-billed hornbill, and we have the gray-breasted francolin or sparfall. Those ones are special for the Serengeti. You cannot go without them. And some others now, many tours, and especially PIB tours, will go a little further west of the Serengeti to go and look for the Kara Moja apalis. It's a little kind of warbler, but this is one of the areas in Tanzania, west of the Serengeti, that we go to find out this. Other locations in East Africa where the Kara Moja apalis could be, maybe northeastern part of Uganda. So if you're not in northeastern part of Uganda for this tour, then you have to be on the Serengeti for that special apalis. The big cats, of course, they dot people's minds. Even for non-birders, they'll ask if they'll see a cheetah or leopard. All these are possible on the Serengeti. One thing, as I showed you the map of Tanzania in particular, so you'll see the line of the Serengeti. The Serengeti is sort of continuing westwards to Lake Victoria. So when you are looking for some of those specialties, you may go off the visited area of Central Serengeti and go westwards to find some of the specialties. And if you are looking at the calving migration, then you have to be on the plains southeast of the Serengeti. But by location, you cannot get to the Serengeti by road without going through the Ngorongoro. You have the Ngorongoro Conservation Area here that you go through to get to the Serengeti. So you are visiting the Serengeti by going through the Ngorongoro and back to Arusha, the starting point of the safari, going again through the Ngorongoro. You can do the Ngorongoro without going to the crater floor, but going through the conservation area, the Ngorongoro Conservation Area to the Serengeti. So if you are visiting July to September, then if your target is migration of the wildebeest, you'll be somewhere north near the border of the Masai Mara and Serengeti on the Mara River. And if you're visiting the rest of the year, you are concentrating on the central Serengeti and southeastern Serengeti. Unless if somebody has a question about this Serengeti before we go on. Charles?
Well, anybody's got any questions, you can unmute and ask your questions, or you could message them in. If you don't see any questions, then we can move on to the next site. I don't see any questions.
Here. So Leo was just inviting more questions on the Serengeti. And Anthony, I think it's really important we tell the story of birding in the area. So many tours are focused on wildlife, which of course, you know, birding tours, we see plenty of wildlife, plenty of mammals. Besides these endemic birds, what are some of the other sort of favorite birds that people love to see in the area?
Yes. There is a plenty on the Serengeti. We are talking about over 500 different species of birds on the Serengeti. About over 500 species of birds on the Serengeti with varied habitats. When you're on the plains, of course, you're looking at the red-billed hornbills, von der Duckens hornbills, Coqui francolins, and if you go into the woods, then you're looking at the weavers. We have dry country weavers like the vitelline mast and lesser mast, the village weavers, the sunbirds, the variables, coursers. Yes, we have the coursers, huglins, double-banded coursers, violet-tipped coursers. Oh, those ones are possible on the Serengeti. And when you go on the riverine, you get the sandgrouse. You can get 3 species of sandgrouse on the Serengeti: the chestnut-bellied, you can get the black-faced sandgrouse, and also the yellow-throated sandgrouse. Not forgetting waterbirds, a good number of waterbirds. We have chestnut-banded plover, that's a Rift Valley endemic or soda water, alkaline water species that we can find on one of the lakes that are soda or alkaline here on the Serengeti. Chestnut-banded plovers, the avocets, 3-banded plovers, and stuff like that. So there are varied habitats on the Serengeti. So one day or two may not be enough to do the Serengeti from the birding point of view, because you are visiting on each day, you are visiting a different part of the Serengeti. If you do the central Serengeti, you're mostly focusing on the plain birds, the grassland birds. When you go west, westwards of the Serengeti, you are looking at wooded habitat that gives you all the turacos, the Shallow's turaco, gives you more of the francolins, and of course, one other species that most people like to see on the Serengeti that we spend time looking for is the gray crested hammer shrikes. These ones are getting less and lesser in number on many trips. So on our PIB tours to the Serengeti, we try to make sure that we run into the area and try to catch up with the gray crested hammer shrikes, and ground hornbills, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Great, excellent. Thank you so much for that. I do have one texted question in. I actually have a couple to catch up on. I think you covered one on the. I'm just going to stick it with here and get Eddie. This is a more general question, and that's when we've got these tours scheduled. Just so folks know, I don't know, 3 years ago at the start of the pandemic, we started to work on the Tanzania website, and it's a Tanzania-Kenya trip. And we typically run these tours from late May into September, or kind of the peak seasons. We do have trips scheduled for this July and this September. One of our really good clients asked me, when are these tours? So we'll get that website up here the next couple of weeks. I need to find 2 or 3 hours and edit through it. And then, but we do have upcoming dates in July and September, and we will probably run another couple tours in 2023 as well. But we'll get more information out on that. Any other questions before we go on to Tarangire National Park? Hearing none, we'll go on to Tarangire. Thank you for that.
Tarangire.
Thank you, my friend.
So to get to Tarangire, Charles, and our listeners and viewers, once we've been to the Serengeti will be farthest south. Our tour will go this farthest west. The tour will go farthest west will be the Serengeti. So we have to make our way back through the Ngorongoro and to somewhere near Arusha, and then go slightly south into Tarangire. But of course, when getting to Tarangire, we are going through the Rift Valley escarpment, lots of stops within the Rift Valley, and trying out a number of dry country stuff, birds on the way to Tarangire. We are passing by Lake Manyara, which is another destination in northern Tanzania, but most popular for the birding, where we get most of the specialties and more endemics, would be Tarangire. Tarangire National Park is not very known to many safari goers. Many people, of course, as I said, the big names will be Serengeti, Kilimanjaro, and Ngorongoro, but we have the little gem of Tarangire. This is a national park that's about 1,200 square miles with over 550 different bird species, many of them being endemic and special to the area. As I showed you earlier, we have Ashy starling. It's an endemic in Tarangire National Park. I didn't talk about it in the Serengeti. I didn't talk about it in Ngorongoro because you have to be to Tarangire National Park to get this Ashy starling. As I said before, most people would think endemics will be those weird birds to find, and you have to spend many hours out in the forest to find one. But with these 3 endemics here, the Ashy starling, as I said, they come to your toes as soon as you get into the park. The green flyovers will look like parakeets. Those will be yellow-collared lovebirds. They'll be all over the Tarangire National Park, as well as the rufous-tailed weaver that looks like a babbler, not really a true weaver. Those ones will be a common sight at some of the picnic areas and some of the lodge grounds and entrance gates of the parks. You get the rufous-tailed weaver, Ashy starling, and the yellow-collared lovebird. But Tarangire is also known for its huge baobab trees. It's gigantic, very, very large trees. Many of them are said to be living to over 700 to 1,000 years old in Tarangire National Park. These trees make about 30 to 40% of the vegetation in this park, in Tarangire National Park. It's a good tree, as famous for giving shade, but during the breeding time of the year, we have the buffalo weavers, the rufous-tailed weavers making nests in these trees. And we also have baobab special birds like the mottled spinetail. Mottled spinetails do nest in the baobab trees, but also those trees act as a refuge for other wildlife that use it to collect water by chewing its bark in the middle of the dry season. When you come in July to September, it's getting dry, and the park is getting brown with less water, then the animals are concentrating around the baobab trees for shade, and the breeding birds are also using it for the fruits and flowers. So it's not very popular, as I said, but from the birding point of view, it's one place that we cannot finish a tour without visiting. Apart from the specialities, the Ashy starling, the rufous-tailed weaver, and apart from the lovebirds, the yellow-colored lovebirds, we also get secretary birds here. We get secretary birds, we get ground hornbills, silver birds. Yes, we have silver birds that are a kind of flycatcher. We have parrots, the red-bellied parrots, the African red-bellied parrots. They're in the baobab trees in Tarangire National Park. The mayor's parrots, they're all here. The river that runs through this park also acts as a home to many of the water birds. Actually, one of the places we have for finding snipes, painted snipes, African snipes, migrating times of the year, the common snipes are along the river. So we have lapwings and plovers, Senegal lapwings, blacksmith lapwings, crown lapwings. They're all available on the river when driving on one of the river circuits. The number of areas you drive, and farther down south of this park, you have a huge marsh or swamp that holds most of the birds, the bee eaters, sometimes the carmine. The northern carmines are found over here. The little bee eaters, blue cheek bee eaters during migration get to this part of the park. So it's one of the areas that you cannot finish a tour without visiting. It's called the Silale Swamp, farther south of the park. And there is several habitats apart from the baobabs themselves that act as its own habitat of baobabs, rivers, grasslands, where again we get the Pangani longclaws, and we get the northern pied babbler, which is a specialty here, not an endemic, but this is probably the last north the northern pied babblers will get on this tour. So we get all the way down to Tarangire National Park to find the northern pied babblers, arrow-marked babblers as well. And when you go out into the woods, then you get the woodpeckers. Don't forget about the woodpeckers and the honey guides. We have the bearded woodpeckers, the Nubian woodpeckers, the cardinal woodpeckers, greater honey guide, and the lesser honey guides are all possible in the wooded habitats of this park. Let me not talk much about this, but if I have questions about Tarangire, then I'll probably go on from here. Charles.
Sorry, it takes me a couple 30 seconds to unmute and get back on. Anyway, so first of all, thank you for the presentation. I think we'll take a few more minutes for some questions, and then we actually have some administrative things to do. Any other questions on birding in Tanzania or birding in Tarangire National Park? I have one question I have to go back to. So any other questions, folks?
Yes, what time of year are Carmen bee eaters seen in Tarangire?
So is Carmine bee eater seen in Tarangire National Park?
No, what time of year?
Oh, what time of year is Carmine bee eater seen in Tarangire?
Yeah, carmines, yes, Charles. Yeah, the carmines are migrating north between November and about June. So the possibilities that we can go into the carmine bee eaters at that time of the year. They are migrating between coming northwards between November and June.
So then they're not a nesting species, they're migrating through November to June. Got it. Good question. Thank you. Any other good questions out there? All right, so I'm going to cover a couple administrative things. I just want to introduce Angela Anderson. Angie, do you want to unmute and just say hello?
Hello, everyone.
Yeah,
Oh,
so Angela used to work for Birdwatchers Digest. I've hired her in the last couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and Angie will be, she goes by Angela, I call her Angie, but Angela will be making more and more of our customer service and sales calls. So just want to introduce Angela to some of our clients who've been with us on many tours. Thanks, Angela. You want to say something else about yourself?
No, I'm just excited to be a part of this and to hopefully get to speak with all of you and ideally meet you someday.
There you go. Thanks, Ange. And then I did mention somebody's name today. An individual, I will call you and make sure it's okay. This is actually a fellow who's birded with me here in Colorado a number of times, not in a long while, but besides that one individual's name, I do not believe I mentioned anybody else's name. If for some reason I did, just contact us at service@pibird.com and we can take your name off the video presentation, which will go on both our website and our YouTube channel. A couple other questions to catch up on, and then we'll go to that last slide. Because I know Anthony wants to be invited back, and we welcome that. So, so the one question that we had from before is, I know we bird on, is it a road around the rim of the crater? And we get both down into the floor of the crater and up on the rim. That was a question we had. Anthony, did you hear that question?
yes, we do both. We do morning time. We do down the crater and drive around the crater floor, visit the dotted lakes on the crater floor, the grasslands, the hippopoles with some of the warblers, African reed warblers and all that. And then we end up at the picnic site on the crater floor, where sometimes we can see the pelicans and sometimes we will see where we recorded data or cormorants around the picnic site. And we get the rufous-tailed weavers coming to share picnic with you, and speaks weavers coming over the picnic site. And then in the afternoon, we ascend, go out of the crater floor, and then do the rim. So when we do the rim of the crater, that's when we are looking out for the bull white eyes. This is where we're looking for the alpine charts, the hunter's testicle, all the sunbirds are on the rim. Jackson's widow birds, red-collared widow birds, brown-backed woodpeckers, rufous-tailed weavers, yes, as well. The churracos, apalices, like black-headed and brown-headed apalices, they're all on the crater rim. So we spend the afternoon on the crater rim. All depends, again, on the weather of the day. But we do the crater floor in the morning, and then in the afternoon, we are doing the crater rim. And then one of the accommodations we stay will be on the outside of the Ngorongoro. So we have actually a guided walk into the highland forests on foot with an escorted ranger, armed ranger, because of the buffaloes and the elephants on the trail. So we do birding on the rim, on the crater floor, and the highland forest. Not sure if this says you're right.
Great. Hey, and I'm going to let you get to that last slide and do kind of a wrap up, sir.
Yes, those were the 4 popular northern Tanzania birding sites. But as I said, Charles is going to give us another opportunity to give a presentation on the rest of Tanzania, that is not just northern Tanzania. For those who will be looking out for more of the endemics and specialities when we look about the Usambara Mountains and all that. But for northern Tanzania, again, other possible sightings that are of interest, we have the Kori bastards. I didn't talk about most of the bastards, but on the crater floor, we get to see the white-bellied and black-bellied bastards. On the Serengeti and on crater floor itself, we get the Kori bastard. That's one of the heaviest flying birds on the continent of Africa, weighing about maybe 17 to 19 to 20 kilograms. That's the Kori bastard. It's a popular site on the crater floor, the Serengeti and Tarangire National Park, all the places that we visit on the northern Tanzania. We get the Kori bastard, southern ground hornbill, the largest of the hornbill family. We get the southern ground hornbills. These are possible in the Serengeti and Tarangire, frequent sightings of those. And most people would ask, shall we see this bird? And I always say, yes, chances are high. We'll see this in the Serengeti and we'll see this in Tarangire. Next in the picture, you have those fluffy little guys there. That's the pygmy falcon or the African pygmy falcon, said to be one of the smallest raptors in the world, or actually the smallest falcons, raptors that are on the trip or in the world or the African continent. So we happen to see this often, the African pygmy falcons, common sighting in the Serengeti and common sighting in Tarangire as well, and in the Arusha area and Kilimanjaro. And then we get the lilac-breasted roller. Ooh, that's a bird that's a common sight on many of the trips, but many birding questions come. People want to see, not because it's rare, it's actually common, but because of the beauty and colors around the lilac-breasted roller. Even non-boarding tours will stop and take a picture of the lilac-breasted roller. They always say it's the most photographed bird on the African continent. Every tour will stop and photograph. They're always there and they're happy to be photographed, beautiful as they are. That's the lilac-breasted roller. Then we have red and yellow barbet that looks like someone's painting out of a museum. All the beautiful colors and paintings on this, that's the red and yellow barbet, is commonly seen around termite mounds where it feeds on termites. And it's another sighting that people will be actually anxious to see on a tour. Sandgrouse, that's the black-faced sandgrouse. This is common certain times of the year, especially the dry season, when they concentrate around streams, rivers, and water holes to collect water or to drink water. Black-faced sandgrouse. Comes the spurb starling. People don't believe, having been to Europe and seen the starlings there, they assume this may not be a starling. It could be named maybe another beautiful something of a family, but it's a starling. It's a superb starling. It's also a popular sight in northern Tanzania. The cranes, while on safari, if you can lift your feet, bow your head, lift it up, that's a crane dance. So I guess from where you are, lift up your feet, bow your head, lift up your head, that's the crane dance. So cranes are a popular sighting. In recent statistics, cranes are said to be running out of habitat and getting vulnerable or getting endangered. So we try as much as possible to find these cranes, the gray crown cranes. Chances are higher on the crater floor during the tour. The black-chested snake eagle, that's another bird of prey, mostly seen soaring high and may not be confused with other predators, or preying birds. It's a bird of prey, eats lizards, mice, and of course snakes, as the name goes, the black-chested snake eagle. Most of the snake eagles can be identified by round, big heads. As you see, that round, big head is typical of all the snake eagles in Africa. Question that came about the secretary bird, Charles was asking. That's the secretary bird. And as it stands, it has lots of theory and legend behind it. It's usually called the bird with authority. In Africa, it appears in some of the national flags or coat of arms of some countries in Africa, South Africa, and the Sudan, which symbolizes authority. And indeed, by the gate, when you see them on the plains in the Serengeti, the Ngorongoro Crater, and Tarangire National Parks, they are usually solitary, and they look like that old world secretary with the pens on the head, trying to think of what the boss would need. So they do hunt with their pens up, they stamp down the ground to scare off the prey, and they can jump and they can catch their prey, sometimes in the air, but sometimes on the ground. That's a secretary bird. They are a sighting that's possible on many of our tours in northern Tanzania. The hammerkop, that's another almost ancient creature. You can relate that to storks. In some authorities, they used to relate it to herons and storks, but recent studies show that a hammerkop, just like a secretary bird, they are monotypic. They're the only ones in their family. So if you say secretary bird or hammerkop, you don't have a relative. It's just the hammerkop or just the secretary bird. It's monotypic. So all this is what the plains will give us, in addition to plain animals, zebras, giraffes, and so all that. There are lots and lots of birds to see. You just have to be there. Just have to be there at the right time. Have to be there on the right tour, and you just have to be there with the right guide. Patience.
Great. Thank you very much. We will definitely have you back to talk about more Tanzania and Kenya birding in the future, and maybe we'll do a special guest with Kenya as well. I would love to do that. So we look forward to getting you a couple tours here in 2022 in July and September, and continuing to work with you in the future. Thank you so much for your time. We're running a little bit over on time, but we will cover the rest on a future chat. Thank you so much. Anybody? I think that's the end.